how can the attorneys who are at this boot camp, since you run Answering Legal, which is a very successful answering service for attorneys, I wanted to kind of pick your brain and understand what are some of the sales principles that you see attorneys violate, and what are the sales principles that you see some of the most successful attorneys embrace. So thanks so much for being on the boot camp.
Bill, thanks so much for having me. But yeah, let's talk about sales, which is usually like this dirty word for attorneys. And I did a webinar with Andy, maybe at like the start of COVID. Holy crap! Why am I so bright? Let me lower this. And I will literally never forget this as long as I live. But so Andy's going on and on about how to get new clients in a crisis and the types of things that you should be focusing on, maybe while your firm is not as busy. And somebody puts a question in the chat and it says, I really want to do the stuff that you're talking about, but I feel like I'm preying on people's fears. And I think that's what holds attorneys back about sales, is they think that someone's going to label them an ambulance chaser, or someone's going to tell them, you're just a money hungry attorney, or they're going to tell the lawyer joke about me that I'm a pit bull. And it's just not true. You have this crazy skill that you had to pay all this money to go get, and get certified and learn all this stuff, and then go out there and be an entrepreneur. And you're helping people. So that's the first thing I want to clear out of the gate is you are helping people. There is no such thing. If you're really preying on people, stop preying on people. I don't know what to tell you, but if you think that you're preying on people, you're not. So here's my sales tactics that people don't really want to follow through on is you have to ask the right questions. And what I mean by that is don't ask the questions that are like really selfish for you and let you know whether or not this person is I don't know, say let's talk, I want to talk medical malpractice. I was just at a trade show and this guy comes over to my booth. He's like, oh, I help run my wife's firm. We do medical malpractice, but our intake is much too complicated. Like you could never do our intake. It's so complicated. Why is it so complicated? I know why it's complicated, because he has all these selfish questions where he's weeding out all of these people so that he can find like the one case that's going to be a super easy, free, slam dunk, $10 million case. And he wants to weed everybody else out. But yeah, the overqualification is exactly what you said. It's too many questions. And there's a right time to ask those questions. And that's after you've already convinced the person that you're the right attorney or firm or person to handle that case. And so, it really comes back to giving yourself license to talk to everybody, and that I'll back it up, like have a process for not wasting your time, put somebody in place that handles maybe the preliminary intake so that nobody reaches, the high level closer of your firm or yourself, where you're wasting time talking to prospects that might not be the best fit for you. But definitely don't overqualify and send everybody away at the first phone call. If it's the first touch point, you want to make sure that you're providing the best possible experience for that customer from the first touch point. That would be my first starting place.
There's the polar extreme is where it's, you hear the law firms answer the phone and go, law office, and where was the date of the accident, and what were the injury, and when did it happen, and where, right? And it's just like this data entry thinking. And I want to ask you a question, because a lot of attorneys don't know how to hire or use the power of a non-attorney salesperson through parts of their firm. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, and I'm not saying have them promise, the results of the case, but I'm saying strategically using a trained salesperson to either sell a consultation with an attorney or to sell a paid consult in a retainer-based practice. So what are your thoughts around non-attorney salespeople?
When it's used properly, it's highly effective. because I would say most attorneys, and you can self-identify yourselves in the chat, are not great salespeople. Just as like I've met people with sales in their DNA. I work with a few of them. They're just good at ignoring and kind of like driving through and asking the right questions and keeping the conversation going. And that's not me either. You know, if you call me and you want to buy something I have, I'm good at getting and like pumping you up about it. But if I'm trying to convince you to do something, I'm like, I don't want to bother you. You know, like I'll let you leave though. But yeah, I see some people do love sales, and that's totally, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem that I see with a lot of what I'll call like intake specialists or closers is that they don't follow this principle of everyone has to move in the same direction. And I had a mentor from the time I was like 17 years old. I used to work for this catering company. And I remember this guy mentored me my whole life, man. He would tell everybody that we all have to move in the same direction, and that above the pond, right, we have to look still like swans. But underneath the pond, you're paddling like crazy and you're going crazy and you're working really hard. But everybody has to portray the same message when it comes to capturing a new client. So what I'll say is, you personally have to train your employees on what you want them saying to people who call your firm. Now, that has to do with the way that you answer the phone, the way that you ask certain questions, and how you want people spoken to. So I almost want to, and you got empathy on the screen there. I want to talk about, and I'm like a broken record. I'm the guy who says this all the time, but one of the things that you need to train your people to do is to treat callers with equity, not equality. So not every caller to your law firm is the same. Some people will call and they're in a good mood. They might be like, hey, I'm dealing with this. It's going, whatever. Match that attitude. Meet them where they are. Talk to them in a more like jovial tone, But if somebody's really upset, like, you handle bankruptcy. 9 times out of 10, somebody who's calling you for a bankruptcy is not happy about it. They're pretty embarrassed. They're upset. And maybe they're a little more serious. That is not the time to make jokes. Be more serious. Don't like pity them, but meet people where they're at. They need to be spoken to where they're at. The other thing with hiring an intake team or like a salesperson is you need to monitor not only their performance, but the feedback that you're getting from customers. Because I have a problem with this because I have a big sales team. So from my personal experience, if there are certain interactions that I need to be made aware of, I will be. And then I can handle those things accordingly. I can tell somebody, listen, don't say things like that. Even if the person, lashes out at you, okay, have a nice day. I just hang up. But make sure that the negative interactions are being brought to your attention and that you're monitoring performance so that you can properly motivate people. I think those are my biggest things for having a salesperson is don't just like let somebody go represent your firm and be the first touch point without knowing exactly how they're representing you.